brain is wider than the sky. For put them side by side, the other one will contain with ease and you beside. The brain is deeper than the sea. For hold them, blue to blue. For one, the other will absorb as sponges buckets do. The brain is just the weight of God, for heft them pound for pound, and they will differ, if they do, a syllable from sound. That's famous poet Emily Dickinson's attempt at describing something that even today we still haven't figured out, the human brain. So think about it for a moment. If every thought, memory, emotion, and decision you've ever made comes from your brain, where do you actually begin? Keep that question with you today. And with that, good morning, everyone, or should I say good afternoon. Welcome to the Seattle Neuroeducation Initiative 2026 Summer Conference. We're so excited to see this room filled with bright, curious, and energetic minds ready to learn, explore, and challenge themselves.
When our founders started this initiative, their hope was to create a safe space for students to present about neuroscience, while helping the community learn about the inner workings of the brain. The first year of this conference, there were only 15 participants, all gathering in a small room. Today, seeing this room filled with eager learners, presenters, and inspiring stories, that vision comes to life. This isn't just about learning neuroscience. This is about connecting to the community and making sure students can express their passion for learning.
Today, we're diving in deep into the world of the brain. Whether you're someone who's interested in the sleep cycle, neurological disorders, or brain development, or just someone who wants to learn more about their brain, there is something here for every one of you. Neuroscience is just not about rare illnesses. It applies to every single one of us. It's about how we think every day, how we strengthen our minds, and how we build the habits that support our overall well-being. The choices we make, how we sleep, how we eat, and how much time we spend on social media shape our brains and how healthy they are.
When we understand our brains, we unlock something powerful. The ability to learn, to grow, and to become the best versions of ourselves. Today's conference is here to do exactly that.
Throughout the day, we'll hear from incredible high school and middle school students who have put together some truly creative presentations. Plus, our keynote speaker is bringing real-world experience and inspiring stories straight from the world of neuroscience. Every session today is a chance to learn something fresh, something you can take home, share with your friends, or use to improve yourself.
And let's be honest, learning is always better when you're part of the action. So get ready. We've sprinkled fast-paced pop quizzes throughout the event. Don't worry, these are definitely not the stressful grading kind. These are the shout out your answer kind. And yes, there will definitely be candy for our winners.
So take a deep breath, settle in, and get ready for a day full of fresh insights from all of us. Today is all about you, a place to stay curious, support one another, and explore the power of healthy living. Take it all in and let's get started. Woo.
Starting off the conference, we have Nitya Kansal. Nitya is an incoming freshman at University of Washington on the pre-med track. We are delighted to announce that she will start off the 2026 Summer Neuroscience Conference with a keynote speech.
Yeah, everybody wants some PowerPoint? Do you have a slide?
No, it's just a speech. And we
Okay,
reference it.
It's the podium.
There's no podium, no podium. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Linda Benzel, an incoming freshman at UW this morning. I just want to appreciate everyone in the audience here today. I am so honored to be here today. Before we get started and hear about the wonderful topics our students have presented today, I want to briefly talk about the struggle many of them face or will face throughout high school as they head off to college. Quickly before I start, let's give a round of applause to all of our students for their hard work and dedication to today's exam. Imagine it's 2 a.m. and you have a test tomorrow, but you still have 3 chapters left to study. You're watching the clock, calculating how much you can possibly sleep, if at all, instead of actually studying. And if you're a high school student, you've probably found yourself in this boat too many times. I see my mom in the audience now, and she's laughing because she knows exactly how this story goes. I stayed to study for a test, and I should have started 2 weeks ago. But it's 2 a.m. and I don't have time to read my pieces. I'm sitting at my desk falling asleep. I'm too distracted to study, but too stubborn to stop. So I make a decision. It's now the perfect time to learn. But I know I'm not waking up to an alarm. So naturally, I wake my mom up instead. I ask her to set an alarm for the morning. That way, when it goes off at 4 in the morning, she gets to be the one to wake up to the most annoying sound in the world, and then she can wake me up. Genius. And then, if I get up, despite all of that, maybe I'll start actually studying. At 2 in the morning, it feels like the best solution I have. But there's a problem. My brain just doesn't want it. Sleeping feels like the opposite of studying. A total break, a chance to let my brain stop working. And I think I'm making the choice between sleeping and studying. But my brain is doing something way more complicated. Because when we sleep, our brains don't shut down. They remain highly active, processing memories, regulating emotions, supporting neural connections, and preparing us to learn again the next day. In other words, sleep simply isn't the time after learning. Sleep is a key part of learning. And that's exactly what makes the brain so fascinating. We spend every second of our lives inside our brains. But rarely do we stop and think about how it works. It's estimated that the human brain has 86 billion neurons. Imagine that, 86 billion neurons and 100 billion connections commanding your entire life, from before you're born to around 80-ish years after. For your entire life, your brain works continuously without it. But what happens when something goes wrong? Tonight, we're going to hear from our speakers as they explore what happens when the brain is injured, how it creates and stores memories, why teenagers struggle with attention and risk-taking, how music and laughter affect us, why addiction can be so powerful, and countless other fascinating questions. So maybe the next time you find yourself up at 2 a.m., staring at a textbook and wondering if you can make it through the next 3 chapters, you can think about your brain a little bit differently. You'll understand that sleeping is not giving up on studying. In fact, you might be helping yourself do better on the test tomorrow, even though you're sacrificing 3 chapters. Don't see your brain as an obstacle between you and the It's the reason you can accomplish anything. Remember that it's constantly changing, adapting, remembering, predicting, feeling, and learning. So even when you think you're doing nothing, such as when you're asleep, when you're listening to music, when you're having fun with your friends, or even when you're sitting quietly in the office, your brain is working very hard. Today, as we explore everything, from strokes and seizures to memory, addiction, AI, and the developing teenage brain, I want you to keep one question in mind. How much do we really understand about the organ that makes us who we are? Remember, by the end of tonight, you may realize the most fascinating thing in your life is something you've always had to do, your brain. Thank you so much for your time today. Once again, congratulations to our wonderful speakers. It's not easy to give up your Saturday morning for an event like this when you could be sleeping in instead. But I want to commend you all for your hard work and your dedication. As I mentioned before, I'm attending UW this fall, and a number of people have asked me to give them advice. Well, I know what I said today was probably not the advice you were expecting. However, high school has taught me that good sleep is the secret to success. And I hope it's something you keep in mind with you as you juggle multiple responsibilities. And before I hand the mic off, good luck to all of our presenters. I can't wait to hear what you guys.
that great talk. As a token of appreciation, we would like to present our keynote speaker with this book, The Song of the Cell by Siddhartha Mukherjee. This book explores the history of cell biology and modern therapies, making it essential in any pre-med student life. Thank you so much. And now I would like to invite our bio reader to read the bio for our first presenter, Veer Shah.
Hi everyone, my name is Eritrika and I'll be your bio reader for this conference. Veer Shah says that the first time he studied how the brain signals a muscle to move, he knew that he wanted to spend his life at that intersection, which is why he's pursuing orthopedic surgery as a focus on neuroscience. As a senior at Lake Washington High School, he has earned the AP Scholar with Distinction Honors and second place at the Regional National History Day. He's also built an Arduino-powered moon rover as a Washington TSA finalist, played piano for over 9 years, and holds a Red Cross CPR, KED, and lifeguard certifications. Service grounds everything he does. Through the Sunkara Foundation, he volunteers at Jefferson House Memory Care, playing piano and designing activities for seniors, and regularly raises funds for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. He tutors chess to younger students, drawing on years of competitive play, and has earned the President's Volunteer Service Award for Community Development. As a member of HOSA, DECA, and TSA, he's eager to bring the same energy to the Neuroscience Education Initiative and help others discover what first captivated the extraordinary power of the brain. Please welcome Veer Shah.
You guys can see it, right? Alright, so I'm Veer, and I'm going to be talking about sleep and your growing brain. So I'm not going to lie, I don't remember the last time I slept before 12 a.m. There's too much stuff to do. But that's not good. That's not good. There's a lot of studies that show sleep is probably one of the biggest things that impacts your life, and if not the biggest. And it matters a lot, especially through school. So why does it matter in high school? Well, first things first, it supports advanced brain development. Most studies cite that your brain's not fully developed until you're 32. So, especially in high school, the more sleep you get, the more brain development. So, and then it also improves academic performance and test scores. I often just before tests, I just go to sleep even though it's 2 a.m. and I haven't finished anything. I just go to sleep and I find I do better than if I do study. This is through 4 years of experience. So, and it also regulates mood and stress. Stress being one of the major factors for a lot of diseases like CHD, heart disease, and cancer. Sleep is really important for regulating stress. It's also essential for long-term health. So, how much sleep do teens actually need? So, the recommended amount for teens is 8 to 10 hours a night, but we're not getting that. So, the average high school student gets less than 7 hours, or 7 hours or less. But chronic sleep debt builds over time. So, for the sleep stages, I have it right here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but so for the sleep stages, there's two basic types of sleep. There's rapid eye movement, or REM sleep, and non-REM sleep. Within non-REM sleep, scientists have identified 3 different stages. So stage 1 of the non-REM sleep is the changeover from wakefulness or mindfulness to sleep. During this short period of relatively light sleep, heartbeat, breathing, muscle movements, and eye movements slow. And the muscles relax and twitch occasionally. Brainwaves begin to slow from their daytime wakefulness patterns, and this stage usually lasts several minutes. Stage 2 of the non-REM sleep is a period of light sleep before entering even deeper sleep. Heartbeat and breathing slow further, and muscles relax even more. Body temperature drops, and eye movements stop completely. Brainwave activity slows, but is marked by brief bursts of electrical activity. And you spend more time in your repeated sleep cycles in stage 2 sleep than other sleep stages. Stage 3 of the non-REM sleep is a period of deep sleep that you need to feel refreshed in the morning. Usually when I'm in deep sleep, no one can wake me up. It occurs in longer periods during the first half of the night. Your heartbeat and breathing slow to their lowest levels during sleep. Muscles relax and are difficult to wake up, and brain waves become even slower. Finally, there's REM sleep, or rapid eye movement sleep. First occurs about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. The eyes move rapidly from side to side behind closed eyelids, and mixed frequency brainwave activity becomes closer to that seen in wakefulness, or when you're awake. Breathing becomes faster and more irregular, heart rate and BP increase, and most of your dreaming occurs during REM sleep, although some can occur in non-REM sleep as well. Arm and leg muscles are temporarily paralyzed, which prevents you from acting your dreams out. And as you age, you spend less of your time in REM sleep. So there's 2 internal sleep mechanisms. There's circadian rhythms, and then there's sleep-wake homeostasis. And they work together to regulate when you're awake and then when you fall asleep. So circadian rhythms direct a wide variety of functions, from daily changes in wakefulness to body temperature, metabolism, and the release of hormones. They cause you to be sleepy at night and can help you wake up in the morning without an alarm. Though that never happens to me. So. And then there's sleep-wake homeostasis, which keeps track of your need for sleep. Homeostasis refers to the balance between systems in the body. The homeostatic sleep drive reminds the body to sleep after a certain time and regulates sleep intensity. Then there's melatonin, and then the sleep hormone. So a teenager's brain actually starts producing melatonin, or the sleep hormone, around 1 a.m., not 10 p.m., like adults, making them biologically wired to stay up later and wake up later. Of course, there's a role that puberty has as well. This shift is a normal part of puberty, with research showing that it's linked to development, even in controlled lab settings. Early school starts to force teens to wake before their bodies are ready, leading to sleep debt on weekdays and catching up on weekends, disrupting their rhythm even more. And of course, screen light suppresses melatonin further, and knowing that we have to do all our work on like Canvas and stuff, not really good, especially at 2 a.m. in the morning. And that explains the difficulty falling asleep early. So why do teens need adequate sleep? We talked about this before, but brain maturation. It's ongoing, and not sleeping can have detrimental effects on brain development. Also, deep sleep triggers growth hormone release, which is crucial for physical development and muscle repair. So you get told. Also, the high academic and extracurricular demands. Sleep's, of course, or the more you sleep, the better, or the more refreshed you're going to feel in the morning of your test. Also, improved decision making and reaction time. I don't know if you guys have ever just slept at 3 in the morning studying for a test, and then you wake up, your friend throws something at you, it just hits your head. But happily. There's also better emotional resilience, because you're going to feel better, your mood's going to be better. And sleep strengthens the immune system, helping to fight off infections. Sleep helps regulate hormones, impacting appetite and metabolism and reducing the risk of obesity. So here's a little fun fact. My friend and I were talking about this, but if you drink heavily in one night, but you don't sleep for 2 days, or let's just say one person drinks heavily in one night, and then another person doesn't sleep for 2 days straight, the person who doesn't sleep for 2 days straight is going to get most of the impact, or more of an impact than alcohol. It's not to say alcohol is good. Don't drink alcohol, but and then there's sleep in the developing brain. So of course the brain develops into the mid-20s, which with most sites sourcing 32 is the full development. The prefrontal cortex is still maturing. Sleep strengthens neural pathways in the brain and improves impulse control and judgment, as discussed earlier. So there's also a large role sleep plays in learning and memory. It consolidates learning into long-term memory, improves problem solving and creativity, and increases the efficiency of studying. So you're basically going to retain more of what you learn if you sleep. Here are the consequences of chronic sleep deprivation. Lower GPA and test performance. Yeah, academically, you're definitely gonna get impacted. Increased anxiety and depression risk. You are gonna have more anxiety when you wake up in the morning if you haven't slept as much. Slower reaction time, or this is also called driving risk, and then weakened immune function. So why do teens lose sleep sometimes? Delayed melatonin, this was talked about earlier, but delayed sleep phase syndrome is really common for teens. There's academic and social pressure, there's college applications right around the corner, rigorous coursework and projects, and texting, socializing online, peer pressure, all that. There's also lifestyle and environmental factors. Stress is a big portion. You probably don't sleep as well if you're real stressed. And then friends and family time. You gotta give them time as well. Then there's mental and physical health. Academic or social stress, mental health issues can cause insomnia, sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, asthma, GERD, OCD can all interfere with sleep. Evidence-based sleep improvement strategies. So some things you can do to seriously improve your sleep is a consistent wake-up schedule, strategic naps, limit caffeine in the afternoon, and create room for sleep. So avoid bright lights and sounds. And then I think we all want this, but schools and policy considerations. Later school start times would seriously help teen health. Sleep education programs, mental health support systems. So some key takeaways. Teen sleep changes are biological. Sleep is critical for the brain and academic success and social success. And prioritizing sleep improves long-term outcomes. And then here are my references. Thank you.
Thank you for that informative presentation, Lear. Next, we have Fabio Filippo.
Fabio Filippo is a rising senior in the Cambridge program at Juanita High School with a strong passion for neuroscience, medicine, and technology. As president of the Biotechnology Club and founder of the Coding for Medicine Club, she inspires fellow students to explore how innovation and technology can transform healthcare. She is actively involved in HOSA, TSA, and DECA, where she continues to strengthen her leadership, teamwork, and problem-solving skills. Through her work with the Seattle Neuroscience Initiative, Pavia has expanded her understanding of brain science and developed a deep interest in neuroscience research. Her independent research on Alzheimer's disease has earned her first place at the Washington State Science and Engineering Fair, reflecting both her scientific curiosity and commitment to advancing medical knowledge. Beyond academics, Pavia is dedicated to serving her community through volunteer work, where she has learned the importance of empathy, communication, and compassion in healthcare. By combining scientific research, leadership, innovation, and service, Pavia is building a strong foundation for a future devoted to advancing healthcare and improving lives.
Thank you so much for that introduction.
I want you to be sure. That's okay. She knows like the pages.
Okay, so I'm going to be presenting on the topic of epilepsy. My name is Bobby Pittapelli. So quick show of hands. You guys ready? Quick show of hands. When you hear the word seizure, how many of you picture someone falling down and shaking? Just raise your hand. Okay, so that's actually only one type of seizure. So what is epilepsy? To understand epilepsy, think about the brain as an electrical system. The brain constantly sends electrical signals. These signals control movement, thoughts, sensations, and awareness. A seizure can happen when there is a sudden burst of abnormal electrical activity in the brain. One seizure does not mean epilepsy, however. Epilepsy is characterized with recurring unprovoked seizures, and this can affect people of many ages. So, to name a few causes, first is genetics. Some types run in families, and then for head injuries, trauma can damage brain tissue. A very common type of head injury is sports injuries. And then for strokes, this can reduce blood flow and then cause brain tissue damage. And then for brain tumors, this can interfere with normal brain activity. So there are a lot of types of seizures. First of all, there are focal seizures, which start with one area of the brain and could cause strange sensations and involuntary movements. There's also generalized seizures, which start in both sides of the brain and can affect awareness. So some common types of generalized seizures include absence seizures, which can cause brief staring and loss of awareness. There are also tonic and clonic seizures, which can cause the muscles to stiffen, and also myoclonic seizures, which can cause sudden, brief muscle movement, and also atonic seizures, which can cause sudden loss of muscle tone. So some common symptoms, even though there are a lot of different types of seizures, are temporary confusion, staring into space, and muscle stiffness. A very interesting symptom is an aura. This can happen before a seizure and can happen from a strange smell, taste, or even a strange feeling. So, since seizures are so diverse and so hard to diagnose, how do doctors even diagnose epilepsy? So, one really common way is medical history. They'll ask what happened with the patients, what characteristics do the patients have, and what symptoms did they display. So, another way is also a neurological examination, which include EEG, which measures electrical activity in the brain, or MRI and CT scans, which can look at brain structure and for abnormalities to identify epilepsy. Another method, which is also very common, is blood tests. This can help identify underlying causes of epilepsy. So now that we know the types of epilepsy, symptoms, and how to diagnose it, let's talk about how to treat it. So the first very common way to treat epilepsy is medication. So this is the most common way, and it can control seizures. However, if medication doesn't work, another very explored option is surgery. This is only for typically focal seizures because it happens from one specific area, and it's only if medication doesn't work. Another good medication method is medical devices. They can reduce seizures and they send electrical signals to the brain. And another special idea for medication is special diets. This can include ketogenic diets, which has been shown to help some children, especially for hard to control seizures. And also lifestyle. You can reduce stress, increase sleep, and also avoid known triggers. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for that insightful presentation. Next up, we have Jerenya Velumurugan to present.
Karanya is a rising ninth grader at North Creek High School. Being a member of National Junior Honor Society, she has shown a strong commitment to leadership and service, completing over 95 hours of volunteer work, far exceeding the minimum requirement. Her dedication reflects her academic excellence and desire to make meaningful impact on our community. Outside the classroom, Karanya is a well-rounded individual with a passion for both the arts and athletics. She plays soccer internationally and competes with enthusiasm and determination. In addition to her athletic pursuits, she is musically talented, having studied piano for several years. Her commitment to music showcases her creativity, discipline, and appreciation for the arts. Please welcome Karanya.
Hello everyone, my name is Karanya Velumurugan and I'm an upcoming freshman at North Creek High School. Before I start, let me ask you a question. How many of you have a screen time of 1 to 2 hours a day? 3 to 4 hours a day? More than that? Now how many of you have picked your phone up just to check one thing, and somehow it ended up being scrolling for 30 minutes? Yeah, I think we've all been there. Social media has become a huge part of our everyday lives. We use it to communicate, watch videos, learn, and entertain ourselves. But because our brains are still developing, especially during the childhood and teenage years, it's important to understand how social media might influence the way we think, focus, feel, and develop. So, what exactly is social media? Social media includes platforms that allow people to communicate, share content, and interact with others. Some examples are TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Snapchat. Teenagers are using these platforms the most. According to Pew Research Center, around 90% of US teens use YouTube, while 63% use TikTok, 61% use Instagram, and 55% use Snapchat. So social media isn't just something teenagers usually just check on. It's their daily lives. Apparently, checking your phone for 1 second has become a full-time job. But why does that matter for our brains? Our brains continue to develop through childhood and adolescence. Areas involved in attention, decision making, emotional control, and self control are still developing during these years. That's why big decisions like voting only can happen in 18 years old. At the same time, social media gives us a constant stream of new information. There's always one video, another message, another notification, or another post. Think about how quickly you can go from watching a video to a basketball highlight to a funny cat or to someone explaining a science fact. Our brains are basically going, wait, what are we doing? Now, this doesn't mean social media automatically changes the brain. The bigger question is how we're using it, how often we use it, and what kind of content we're consuming. One area social media can affect is our attention. Many platforms are designed around constantly changing content. We can scroll through dozens of videos in just a few minutes, and notifications can interrupt us when we're just trying to focus. Imagine you're doing your homework and you finally get into the zone. Then you hear a buzz. You check your phone 5 minutes later and you're watching World Cup highlights. And somehow you completely forgot your focus. Research doesn't show that social media automatically causes attention problems. However, frequent interruptions and constantly switching between different types of content can make it harder to focus on one task. So sometimes the biggest enemy of homework isn't the homework. It's the phone sitting right next to you. Social media can also affect the emotions and not always in a negative way. It can help us stay connected with our family and also express ourselves, learn new things, and find communities where we actually belong. But there's another side, comparison. Online people usually show their best lives, their best pictures, vacations, outfits, and experiences. So we might compare our normal lives to someone's highlights. The US Surgeon General reports that 46% of adolescents say social media makes them feel worse about their body image. It also reports that adolescents who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face about twice the risk of experiencing mental health problems. However, there's an important detail. These statistics show an association, not proof that social media alone causes mental health problems. Other factors matter too, including our relationships, environment, and individual experiences. Another major issue is sleep. I'm sure many of us have experienced this. I'm just going to watch one video before bed. Then one video becomes two, and two becomes 10. And suddenly it's 12:30 at night, and you have to wake up at 6:30. Your phone is basically saying sleep is optional. But for a developing brain, sleep is definitely not optional. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine recommends that teenagers get 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night. Sleep supports learning, memory, attention, and mood. So putting your phone away before your bed might sound boring, but your brain will probably thank you the next morning. So is social media always bad for brains? No. And that's important to remember. Social media can help us to communicate, learn, be creative, and find new communities. You can learn a new language, watch educational videos, discover a new hobby, and connect with people with your same interests. The problem is usually balance. If social media starts interfering with your sleep, schoolwork, relationship, or other activities, that could be a sign that something needs to change. We don't necessarily need to delete every social media app and throw our phones to the trash can, but we just need to control ourselves and let us control our phones instead of the phones controlling us. So, what can we actually do? We can set limits on our screen time, turn off unnecessary notifications, and take regular breaks. We can keep our phones away while doing our work and avoid social media right before bed. We can also spend more time exercising, doing hobbies, and talking to people face to face. And here's a simple test. If you open an app without even knowing why you opened it, that means you're opening it out of habit. So instead of asking how much social media do I use, maybe we should ask why am I using it? To conclude, social media isn't automatically good or bad. It can help us connect, learn, create, and express ourselves. Excessive or unhealthy can usually interfere with our attention, sleep, emotions, and the way we see ourselves. The goal isn't to completely avoid social media. It's to usually use it with intention and balance. Because at the end of the day, our phones are tools. They should work for us, not the other way around. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that informative presentation, Karina. We enjoyed learning about social media and its effects on teens. Next up, we have Sheriff Boone.
Jarvis is an incoming 10th grade student at Monroe High School with a strong passion for medicine. He took initiative to establish a host chapter at his school and has served as a dedicated volunteer for the Washington State Science and Engineering Fair. In addition to volunteering at his local senior center and an eye clinic, a talented musician, Jarvis plays both the flute and the keyboard, and his commitment to service has earned him the President's Volunteer Service Award. He currently holds the rank of second class in Boy Scouts and has led his team in the first LEGO League Challenge from 2022 to 2025. Outside of the classroom, Chari is a well-rounded athlete, competing on his school's tennis, swimming, and soccer teams. In his free time, he enjoys playing chess, coding, and exploring new skills. Please welcome him to the stage.
Hello everyone, my name is Trey Guilherme, and I'm a 10th grader going to Monroe High School. And today I'm going to tell you about the neuroscience in addiction and substance use. So first of all, what is neuroscience? What is addiction? Addiction is technically a chronic disorder in the brain where the user uses a compulsive use of a harmful substance even though they know there are harmful consequences. This could be marked by intense cravings, losses of decision making, and how the brain receives how the rewards work. So what is the brain's reward system? The mesolimbic dopamine pathway, also known as the brain's reward circuit, is the core structure involved in addiction. So the ventral tegmental area, also known as the VTA, and the nucleus accumbens, which are both interconnected, are involved in motivation and pleasure. So how does the reward pathway actually work? So first, we naturally get dopamine from things we like that are needed for survival, like social connection, eating good food, or reaching a goal, all give you the natural dopamine. Dopamine is pleasure, so your brain tags it as a behavior you want to get again. So what the hippocampus does is it remembers everything about what that event happened. Then it thinks, wow, that was good. We should do that again. Then the amygdala puts emotional weight on it. So on a scale on how good it felt, it could put more emotional weight on it, and that could affect you to do the behavior more often. So how do substances change this? They don't just activate it, they overload it. Naturally, our brain gives us dopamine for something natural, then it slowly dies down so it can reset and respond to the next rewarding event appropriately. But the brain, when it gets dopamine from the addictive substance, it gets it multiple times larger than any natural reward could get. So this is really harmful because this could create tolerance. So when your brain gets huge amounts of dopamine surges over and over again, this could cause toleration, and this could also cause withdrawal. So tolerance is when you get those huge dopamine surges and your brain's trying to correct it, and not as a reward to get. So what it does is downregulates. It reduces the dopamine receptors in the nucleus accumbens, and then you would need more amount of that substance to feel better, which could actually get you that overdosing risk. Then there's also withdrawal. So which is technically when you don't get that assistance in your blood anymore, then your brain isn't gonna possibly get that feeling of happiness as easily. So it could create you to be more moodier, anxious, irritable, and it could make those cravings even more intense. But at the start, when you first take the substance, it could actually lead to positive reinforcement. This is technically when the user uses it just to feel good. But then over time, as you keep gradually using the substance, it turns into negative reinforcement, where the brain actually uses it not just to feel good, but to actually get away from bad symptoms, which are called the withdrawal symptoms. But how can you recover from this nightmare? So since our brain has the ability to do neuroplasticity, it makes it biologically more possible for you to actually fix yourself. So what the brain actually does is, over time, from sustained abstinence, your brain can actually get its dopamine receptors back by just not having that artificial dopamine. Then, in the prefrontal cortex, it could get its rational decision making back again, and also its intensive cravings go away. So the next time you think if it's your willpower, it's probably not. It's just the dopamine, and the brain is trying to work really hard to get itself back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that incredibly deep presentation. Next, could we please get Mokshit Kancharla for his presentation?
Mokshit is a ninth grader who's really into science and how things work. He's always been curious about the human body, especially how we're able to see the world around us. That's why he chose to explore the visual system from eye to brain for today's topic. When he's not geeking out over science, you'll probably find him on the basketball court because he loves the game. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Mokshit and today I'm going to be presenting about the visual system. So the visual system, do you guys think that you see from your eyes or your brain? Well, the answer is your brain, and by the end of this presentation you'll learn why. So the eye is a complex organ which has many neurons and cells, and I'm going to be explaining the major roles of your neurons. So there are four major neurons in your eye, four major cells in your eye, which are the cornea, the pupil, the iris, the cornea, the pupil, the iris, the retinas, and the lens. Everything starts when light bounces off an object and then goes into your eye. The eye is basically like a camera, and the cornea is the window of a camera. The eye goes through the cornea, and then it goes through the pupil, which controls the amount of light which goes into your eye with the help of the iris. Then the light then gets focused onto the retina with the help of the lens inside in the middle of your eye, and then the retina, which are light sensitive cells, they convert these light rays into electrical signals with the help of few proteins, which are known as opsins. And then these opsins convey these electrical signals to the optic nerve, which are made of ganglion cells. and the optic nerve conveys these electrical signals to the thalamus, which is at the lower cortex of your head. And the thalamus then conveys these electrical signals to the occipital lobe, which is contained in the primary cortex. So, and this is where where your brain converts these electrical signals into a seamless picture by converting it into edges, motion, color, and um, light. Thank you.
Thank you, Moshe. We enjoyed listening to that interesting presentation about the neuroscience behind vision. Next up, we have Audra.
Audra Arlen is a sophomore at Skyline High School in Washington. She's excited to be participating in the Seattle Neuroscience Education Initiative as a long-standing member and is grateful for the opportunity to share her presentation on the gut-brain axis and its connection to mental health. She hopes her presentation encourages curiosity, thoughtful discussion, and a greater appreciation for the fascinating relationship between the brain and the body.
All the people who are in person, they all finished the presentations? No, so finish up those and then we'll come for the online presentations at the end. Time permitting, or else we can upload their presentations to the YouTube channel directly if they are running out of time. Let's have all the in-person people finish first. So go on to the next speaker. Go on to the next in-person speaker.
Sorry about that, but our next speaker is going to be Sneha Sankar, and
Sneha is a dedicated 9th grade student at North Creek High School who is passionate about both STEM and community involvement. She's an active member of her Next Robotics team where she enjoys collaborating with her teammates to design, build, and program innovative solutions while strengthening her problem-solving and engineering skills. Sneha is also a proud member of the National Junior Honor Society and demonstrates her commitment to service by completing over 100 volunteer hours each year through a variety of community initiatives. In addition to her academic and extracurricular achievements, Sneha has developed a strong interest in health and nutrition. Her curiosity about how nutrition impacts overall well-being inspired her to research metabolic health, leading her to prepare and deliver a presentation on the topic. She enjoys learning about the science behind healthy living and hopes to continue exploring ways to educate others about wellness. Please welcome her.
Good. Raise your hand if you've ever made a New Year's resolution before. Okay, good. There's a lot of you. Now keep your hand up if you're still working on it every single day. Okay, look around. I think no one has raised their hands.
No,
Oh, we have one person. Oh, two people. Great. Okay.
And one person somewhere.
Oh, okay, we have a few people, but don't worry. 92% of people don't finish their New Year's resolution. But today, I'm going to talk about how to become the 8%. Hi everyone, my name is Sneha Shankar and I'm an incoming freshman at North Creek High School. Today, I'm going to share the neuroscience behind goal setting and motivation, and more importantly, understanding how our brains can actually help us achieve our goals. Let's start from the beginning. What is a goal? In simple words, a goal is something you want to accomplish that requires you to take action. And there are two important parts of achieving that goal, the way and the will. The way is the skills and capabilities you have, such as attention, memory, and problem solving. The way also includes mapping out the steps that you need to achieve your goal. The will is your desire to reach the goal. In other words, your motivation. Let me give you a personal example. When I was younger, I joined chess out of my mom's interest. Unfortunately, due to my lack of interest, I wasn't practicing every day for multiple hours. So sure enough, I did not get very far, because without the will, there's no way. Learning from this, Last year, one of my biggest goals was getting to the VEX Worlds Championship in robotics. To achieve that goal, I worked almost every day for multiple hours on our build, our code, our drive, etc. That was the way. And trust me, the way included a lot of late nights and missing almost half the Super Bowl. But the reason I kept going was the will, the desire to reach worlds. And when the will and the way combine, you reach your goal. Now, there are different types of behaviors and goals, and it's important to know the different types, to know the different steps that you have to take. The first is complex routine behavior. This requires a lot of skill, but relatively low motivation. An example of this is walking through a familiar community. You already know the steps that you have to take, so you don't have to consciously think about every single step. Next is simple routine behavior. These require little skill and little motivation. An example of this is breathing or sleeping, things that we do most of the time without even thinking. Next is simple novel behavior. These require a high amount of motivation, but a low amount of skill. These are things like waking up every day for school in the morning, which might sound easy until your alarm rings at 6:30 in the morning and the bed is like the comfiest place on earth. Lastly, we have complex novel behavior. These require high motivation and high skill. These are learning a new instrument, preparing for a difficult test weeks in advance, or navigating an unfamiliar place. This requires the brain to think, plan, adapt, and persist. But here's the problem. Wanting something isn't enough. Your brain actually has to figure out how to get there. That's where the executive function comes in. Now, instead of explaining it first, I'm going to show you with a little demonstration. So everyone in your head, think what's 27 times 3. Just do it in your head right now. Okay, hopefully you guys are getting towards the answer. Now tell the person next to you your favorite food. Come on, I'm sure you guys all have a favorite food. Okay, now if you're trying to remember the number 27 times 3, whatever the answer was, talk to someone and focus on me at the same time you're using the executive function. This helps us plan, organize, focus, and remember information. So now that we understand the way, how do we actually make it easier and better? There are 2 important concepts you have to know about: habits and inhibitory control. A habit is a behavior that becomes increasingly automatic through repetition. Inhibitory control is the ability to stop that automatic response that your brain thinks. If that doesn't make any sense, let me give you an example. How many of you have ever studied for a test before? Just raise your hand. Oh, good, there's a lot of you. Okay, now let's say you're studying for a test and your phone buzzes. For most people, their immediate reaction is to check their notification. But the ability to keep on studying and not focus on your phone or whatever else is going on is inhibitory control. And just like a lot of other cognitive abilities, inhibitory control improves as you practice it, but can also get worsened as with lack of sleep, fatigue, or stress. So now we've talked about the way, let's talk a little about the will, motivation. There are 2 major types of motivation: intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation means doing an activity that's meaningful to you or something that you genuinely enjoy. Extrinsic motivation is doing an activity for its reward or to watch out for its punishment. Like, if you actually like to study because you enjoy learning, that's intrinsic motivation. But if you're studying to get an A, that's extrinsic motivation. So why does any of this matter? Like, why should I know all this stuff? This is because achieving a goal isn't the same thing as just saying, I'm going to do this right now. Our brains have to coordinate motivation, planning, self-control, and reward processing. And these abilities can change throughout our lives. The executive function develops as we grow and becomes less efficient with aging. So maybe your New Year's resolution didn't last very long. But now you know that achieving a goal is not just about motivation. It's about having the way and the will. So let's go from being that 92% to the 8% together. Thank you.
all of these wonderful presentations in the first session. Now, to test your knowledge, we have a pop quiz presented by Yukon Corp.
Hello, my name is Suhan Kar, and today I'm
To come to the center.
gonna. Hello, my name is Suhan Kar, and today I hope that you had a good time learning about neuroscience today. But now I'm gonna put your knowledge to the test. Now, I have a great MCQ questions for you to test. What organ is the main control center of the human nervous system? A, B, C, or D?
You want to read the choices?
A, brain. B, spinal cord. C, brainstem. Then B, hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus.
Then the card.
D.
Great.
Oh, great.
Who gave the answer? Guess the candy.
Where are the candies?
Right behind you.
Okay. So I didn't see the candies, so I was not that motivated. So now I know. Okay, next question.
What are the basic cells that carry information throughout the nervous system? A, yes.
Is it D?
Yes, it is D. What is the name of the long extension of a neuron that sends electrical signals away from the cell body? A, the dendrite. B, axon. C, mitochondrial shape. And D, axon hierarchy.
Is it B?
Yes, it is. What is the tiny gap between two neurons where chemical messages are passed? A, node of Grandier. B, the dendritic spine. C, sidespan. D, axon terminus. Then a class.
Sneha.
Yeah. What are the chemical messengers that neurons use to communicate cause?
A, neurotransmitters.
What part of the brain is mainly responsible for balance and coordination? A, cerebellum. B, vascular gateway. C, cerebellum. D, thalamus. Yes.
Is it C?
Yes. Which part of the brain controls vital
Everybody participate.
atomic functions like breathing and heart rate? A, B, hypothalamus. C, amygdala. D, brainstem.
No, no. Which role of the brain is primarily responsible for visual processing? A. Frontal. B. occipital. C. temporal lobe. And D. cortical.
You have to look at the audience.
Look at the
You have to look at the audience.
Yes.
Okay.
check it.
Which role helps you process auditory information and complex language? A. Temporal lobe. C. Frontal lobe. B. Cortical lobe. D. Optical lobe. Yeah. A. What is the protective fluid surrounding the brain and spinal cord part? Yes. What is the thick nerve tract connects the left and right cerebral hemispheres? Yes.
D.
I
think he said
Is the spinal cord classified as a part of the central nervous system / CNS? A. No, belongs exclusively to the PNS. C. 2. Yes, the CNS consists the brain and spinal cord. D. No, it functions in autonomous process pathway. D. Yes, only the region is a part of the CNS. Yes. C. Yes. 2. Which type of neuron carries sensory signals from sense organs to the CNS? A. Sensory neuron. D. B. Motor neuron. C. Interneuron. D. Neuroneuron. Yes. Which type of neuron transmits motor output? Which type of neuron transmits motor output commands from the brain to muscles? Is there anyone who hasn't gotten a chance? You want to do it? Yes. D. Yes. What best defines a neutral reflex? A. A conscious decision perceived in the cerebral cortex. B. A rapid atomic inflammatory response to a stimulus. C. A conditioned memory response stored in the hippocampus. D. A Horner wave released into the circulatory stream. Yes. What fatty insulation wraps around the axons to accelerate action, potential conduction? A. Micron. B. Ketone sheet. C. Conjun matrix. D. Wait.
Is there anyone who hasn't gotten it? Yes.
A.
Yes. Which division of the nervous system controls voluntary skeletal muscle movements? A. Atomic nervous system. C. B. Sympathetic nervous system. C. Somatic nervous system. D. Parasitic nervous system. Yeah. B. Which system regulates visual, inter, involuntary actions like heart rate and digestion? A. Atomic nervous system. B. Autonomic nervous system. C. Central nervous system. Or D. Sensory nervous system.
Abhimanyu.
Abhimanyu. Yes.
Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu. Recommended.
Which limbic structure is critical for forming and consolidation new executive memory? Yes. Which almond-shaped brain structure plays a central role in processing fear and emotional responses?
Lila.
Hippocampus.
Lilans.
What is the largest part of the human brain part? A. Cerebellum. B. Cerebellum. C. Brainstem. D. Corpus callosum. Yes. A. Yeah. No, that's Approximately how many neurons does an average human brain contain? Yes. 8 billion. Yes. Which sensory modality is governed by transit nerve 1? A. Sight. B. Hearing. C. Smell. And D. Taste. Oh, is there anyone new?
Yeah, Aratrika.
What is the fight or flight physiology state driven by? A. Symptomatic nervous system. B. Parasympathetic nervous system. C. Somatic nervous system. D.
Peripheral.
Peripheral nervous organ.
Abhimanyu.
What neurotransmitter is in the brain reward athletes motivation and weak pursuit? A. A syndrome. B. GABA. C. Endorphin. D. Doma.
Dopamine. Abhimanyu.
No.
You don't know dopamine.
I do. I'm not new.
Okay.
Dopamine.
Yes.
Oh.
Which neurotransmitter activates neuromuscular junctions for muscle contraction and memory?
Charit.
I didn't raise my hand.
That's why I wanted to put you on the spot.
of neuroplasticity, brain and brain plasticity.
Because of the
Yes. Why is sleep crucial for brain function?
because of the
Uh,
anyone.
Eh?
which imaging technique uses magnetic fields and radio waves to map brain structure? A. Radiograph. X-ray radiograph. B. Magnetic resonance image stretch MRI. C. Ultrasound sonograph. D. Electrocardiogram. Yeah. What is the primary atomic distance between green matter and white matter? A. Green matter contains matter atoms while white matter contains cell bodies. Green matter has no cell bodies. White matter has myelinated axons. B with B with green matter has only exists in PNS, while white matter exists in CNS. And D green matter produces BSS, while white matter produces
She raised the hand.
I got it. I got it.
I think the answer is C.
I said, I got it.
You got it, she got it wrong. But you can still give her the chocolate.
Should I end the stream? No. Just leave it.
It depends. I don't know. You're doing I never got it. I just did. So I like it. I don't think it's it's just that it's what it takes.
So the down south there. And there is a we're planning to do it with bombs that running He's like, let's go somewhere where I don't need to walk. We thought of Yellowstone, but that was also not.
Yeah, like you have to listen to me too.
Oh, in the other yeah, this is so survived. I think it was years back. Like, you used to stay in Calcutta, so you used to come here every time. The dance saw the policy cast and like, I don't feel that. She gets into something.
Guys, we need to be back. More than this, it won't doesn't look good on the YouTube. It's already live. Can we move on to the next step? We didn't pause. Go on.
Hi everyone.
Can you bring everyone from the?
We're gonna get started in the next 3 minutes, so please settle down, get ready for our next session presenters. Excuse me? Hi everyone, guys, please settle down. Our next set of presenters are gonna be starting in the next 3 to 4 minutes. We're just trying to get everyone in. So please, if everyone could just grab a seat, right down, and then we'll get started soon. Thank you.
What is the next item on the agenda?
Next is more presenters.
What is it?
More presenters.
Here, can you start with this?
We don't have.
Okay, where are the, can you please call me? Aratika.
Oh.
She's in some.
Okay, can you call Aratika? Can you call all of them?
My brother is
I think Abhimanyu is doing the quiz show, right?
That's it.
we stayed in Chennai.
So can we start the quiz show because we have people here?
And also we have stayed.
I know, but what I'm saying is, people are not, we can start off with the quiz show so that we can stop gap.
Abhimanyu's not here.
Okay, so carry on. We don't want the social. Yeah, can you get this on?
How many presenters are there? You don't have a laptop. What happened?
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
She's going to be attending the session.
7.
Right, so,
I would say around 8.
that is an issue. First you can whoever.
Can you confirm it? The second session.
There were 4 3
Alright guys, if you're a presenter, please just come here if you haven't presented yet. If you haven't presented yet, please come here.
Okay, yeah. Unmute. We're gonna swap. Okay.
Okay, we have this ready. Why don't we get started with the quiz? If the presenters are not. Yeah, ready? Okay.
So those who are
okay.
physically present, they can.
They can, yes.
We have a lot of people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Hi. The Johns Hopkins field is over. Johns Hopkins. Yeah. It's over. How did it go?
Okay.
They get certificates. And what she is doing. There's no funding. Then we are talking to one of my friends. So when it is meeting with her, just go to that and see how it
Yeah,
works.
checking who's there or not.
From
It doesn't
here
make
to there, what is the route when I told them to do. So if she
The PhD is also going to be like high school fashion. Why don't you go with Vicky Mehta, $3,000 and
Is she not here?
Vicky Mehta, $3,000. Vicky Mehta. The part-time teacher. $3,500.
Yes.
That's the lowest price she gave.
Okay. Let's get started. We need the I had something. Yes.
We have another laptop, right? Farah, you have one?
Yeah, I just use it. Okay, you use it? Yeah, I don't know teaching math. That's yeah. Yeah.
Wait, adapter for what?
Mac or HDMI.
We have laptop.
Oh, yeah, they left. Yes. It was the person who. Oh, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, she left.
Can I go check with the library?
Yes.
You need a USB.
Ivan, do you have your presentation online? Okay. Okay, guys. No, he doesn't have.
Whose poster is this?
Okay.
This is done.
Okay, guys, settle down. We're gonna get started soon.
I already told them.
Okay.
What if we do it on my laptop?
Arav, do Nushi also. She can also do without slides.
Oh, no, I
Just keep going, keep going.
No, after Ishan, you can do Nushi.
Okay. Guys, settle down.
Oh, she wants that.
You want to go? You want to go?
हमारे पास laptop है, MacBooks भी
Okay, guys, we're starting right now.
है. Okay, let's get started, guys.
Okay.
Okay, even if you don't have laptop, just go ahead, whatever you have.
Yeah. Okay. Huge thanks to Ruhan Park for their brain teasing pop quiz. What a way to test everyone's neuroscience knowledge. Round of applause for it. Our first session set a remarkably high bar with such deep analytical presentations. Now, I know our next group is going to deliver the exact same caliber. To introduce our next speaker, let me call on Ivan Cholri.
Ivan is an incoming sixth grade student curious about the human body, brain, and mind. He enjoys exploring new scientific concepts through hands-on models and projects, and regularly participates in the Washington State Science and Engineering Fair, where his projects have received first place recognition in consecutive years. His curiosity also extends to questions about the mind, choices, and human behavior. He enjoys reading and discussing the Bhagavad Gita, an ancient Indian philosophical text. an interest that inspired him to start the Inner Warrior Collective, a student-led discussion group where young students explore its ideas and how they relate to everyday life. Yvonne also volunteers at a yoga studio, helping facilitate his yoga classes by demonstrating asanas and sharing their benefits. This has further sparked his interest in the connection between the mind, body, and movement. Outside of his interests, Yvonne is a Taekwondo black belt and enjoys competing in tennis tournaments across Washington. He loves exploring music through the piano, harmonium, and cartwheel, and is learning Indian classical music. He also enjoys writing and was recognized in the Prodigies for Peace essay contest for his reflection on the ideals of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yvonne is excited to be part of the conference and to present his research on the blood-brain barrier and neuroprotection.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with all of you. I really like the presentations in the first session. So, today I'm going to talk about the blood-brain barrier and neuroprotection. Here's something about the brain that fascinates me. Our brain makes up only about 2% of our body, but it uses about 20% of the oxygen our body consumes at rest. That is a lot of oxygen for such a small part of our body. Brain cells, especially neurons, depend on a continuous supply of oxygen and nutrients delivered by the blood. But here's the puzzle. The brain needs this close-knit connection with the bloodstream, but the environment around its neurons also needs to be carefully controlled. So, how can the brain receive what it needs from the blood without allowing substances to move freely between the brain and the blood? The answer brings me to my topic today, the blood-brain barriers, or BBB, and neuroprotection. When I first heard the word blood-brain barrier, I imagined some kind of protective wall around the brain, but that's not what it is. The BBB exists mainly in the tiny blood vessels in our brains, called capillaries. These capillaries are lined with endothelial cells. In brain capillaries, neighboring endothelial cells are connected with very close structures called tight junctions. You can think of tight junctions like seals between neighboring cells. They strongly limit substances from simply passing between them. Other cells, including pericytes and astrocytes, also help support and regulate the barrier. But now we have another question. If this barrier is so tightly controlled, how does the brain get the oxygen and glucose it needs? This is where I discovered one of the most interesting ideas about BBB. Different substances cross in different ways. For example, oxygen can diffuse across endothelial cell membranes, but glucose takes a different route. Our brain needs glucose as an important energy source, and glucose uses specialized transporters proteins to cross the BBB. One important transporter is called GLUT1. Many other substances have much more difficulty crossing, while some have their own specialized transport pathways. So, the BBB doesn't somehow recognize whether a molecule is good or bad. Instead, movement depends on things like the molecule's properties and whether there is an appropriate pathway for it to cross. This is called selective transport. And that led me to my main research question. How can the blood-brain barrier protect the brain without completely isolating it from the blood? What I learned is that the BBB achieves something much more useful than simply blocking everything. It creates a balance between access and protection. And this brings me to the second part of my topic, neuroprotection. Neuro refers to our nervous system. So neuroprotection means helping preserve the normal structure and function of nervous system cells, including neurons. To understand the connection, I like to think about a fish in an aquarium. A fish needs food and oxygen, but giving it food isn't enough. The water on the fish also has to stay within the right conditions. In a similar way, neurons need oxygen and nutrients, but they also depend on the environment around them being carefully regulated. The BBB helps maintain that environment by controlling the movement of many substances between blood and brain. So, one important way the BBB contributes to neuroprotection is by helping maintain the conditions neurons need to function normally. But this made me curious about the opposite situation. What happens when the BBB is disrupted? If the barrier becomes more permeable than normal, the movement of substances between the blood and brain can change. This can disturb the environment around neurons and contribute to inflammation or neuronal injury. Scientists have observed changes in BBB function in conditions including stroke, traumatic brain injury, central nervous system infections, and neurodegenerative diseases. But I learned something important about scientific thinking. Finding BBB disruption in a disease doesn't automatically mean the damaged BBB caused the disease. Sometimes disease processes may damage the BBB. Sometimes changes in the BBB may also contribute to the disease. And sometimes both may be happening together. And then I discovered another fascinating side of the BBB. The same barrier that protects our brain can also make it difficult to treat the brain. Imagine scientists develop a medicine designed to work on a target inside the brain. The medicine can travel through the bloodstream, but then it encounters the BBB. Many medicines have difficulty crossing, so researchers face a very interesting challenge. How can we get treatments across the blood-brain barrier without damaging the protection that the barrier provides? This is one reason scientists continue to study the BBB, not only to understand how the healthy brain protects itself, but also to develop better ways of treating diseases that affect the brain. So, I'll finish by going back to the puzzle I started with. The brain needs a close connection with our blood, but the environment around its neurons also need to be carefully controlled. How can I have both? The blood-brain barrier helps solve this problem through selective transport. It allows necessary exchange while tightly regulating the movement of many other substances. And that controlled environment is an important part of neuroprotection. Before researching this topic, I thought a good barrier would simply be one that was difficult to cross. But now, I think the blood-brain barrier is much more interesting and advanced than that. Its job isn't simply to close the brain off. It has to provide protection without isolation. And that is what I find most fascinating about the blood-brain barrier. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Yvonne, for that wonderful presentation about the blood-brain barrier. Now, I would like to invite Anata Vivar onto the stage.
Ananta is a rising freshman at North Creek High School. She is passionate about neuroscience, specifically in the context of adolescence and psychiatry. She also loves learning with the community, sharing and learning about science with others who share her interests. Combining her love for neuroscience and community learning, she is eager to serve as an MC this year at the 2026 Seattle Summer Neuroscience Conference. When she first learned about the causes of many psychiatric disorders, she was intrigued to learn that neuroscience played a huge part in this. She is excited to share her passion in this field with the community today through her presentation titled The Neuroscience Behind Psychiatric Disorders. Outside of science, Ananta enjoys exploring themes of culture and heritage through paintings and a traditional Indian dance form called Bharatanatyam. This has taught her how to express herself and think creatively while still contributing her art to the community. Please welcome her to the stage.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. 1 in 5 adults in the US are living with a psychiatric disorder. However, despite this, these disorders are still stigmatized and are seen as partially caused by a lack of willpower. Hello, my name is Anahata, and today I will be presenting about the neuroscience behind psychiatric disorders. But before we can actually get to the neuroscience, we need to understand what a psychiatric disorder actually is. A psychiatric disorder is a mental illness that interferes with a person's ability to act, think, or feel. This causes a bunch of harm in day-to-day life as well. These disorders are caused by a complex mix of reasons, such as environmental, physical, and even genetic factors. Here are a few examples of disorders and the neuroscience behind them. Bipolar disorder. This is when a person rapidly swings between manic bipolar to depressive bipolar states, two opposite states. Manic bipolar is a high energy state where the patient is very excited or happy even when doing everyday tasks. On the other end of the spectrum, depressive bipolar is a very low energy state when the patient always feels sad or empty inside. During manic bipolar, dopamine in the brain, especially in the limbic system, begins to be produced at an excess level. Additionally, D2 and D3 dopamine receptors in the brain become highly sensitive. These two factors combined create the highly excited and happy effect that we see during manic bipolar. On the other end of the spectrum, during depressive bipolar, which is a very low energy state, dopamine production in the brain begins to lower. Additionally, the prefrontal cortex becomes dysfunctional and is not able to pick up on signals. This combined creates the low energy and sad state we see in depressive bipolar. MDD, or major depressive disorder. During this, serotonin and dopamine production, two happy chemicals that make you feel good, is greatly increased in the brain. Additionally, cortisol, which is the stress hormone, begins to be produced in abundance. This causes one of two things. One, it causes stunting of the hippocampus. This is where short-term memory is converted to long-term memory. Two, it also inflames the dopamine circuit in the brain. This causes dopamine production to be lessened. Additionally to all of this, the amygdala, the fear center in the brain, is hyperactive. This is what causes the depressive and fearful state that those who have MDD often experience. Anxiety disorders. These consist of anxiety and OCD. People who have these disorders have a fear of something bad happening, which often leads to stress being produced as well. During this disorder, the GABA inhibitory neurotransmitter in the brain, which usually calms down areas of the brain such as the amygdala, which produces fear, is dysfunctional. Additionally, a chemical called norepinephrine, which is similar to adrenaline, causing the flight or fight response, surges. And specific to OCD, the basal ganglia, which is the part of the brain that deals with repetitive tasks such as flipping off a light switch, turning off a tap, or turning on an oven, becomes dysfunctional, which explains these symptoms being seen in OCD patients. So what is the impact of learning the neuroscience behind these disorders? This does two things. One, destigmatization. By learning the biological processes behind these neurological disorders, we can begin to think of them as just another illness. This supports patients and it lets them come out and receive help for their illnesses. It also lets us have conversations about these illnesses in public. Two, it can help us develop medicines to help get rid of these symptoms. This can help patients live their day-to-day life normally. So let's all join together to treat psychiatric disorders. Thank you.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation about psychology and our health. Now, I would like to invite Hasnita Ulabaki to the stage.
Hasnita is a rising junior in high school who is eager to understand the complexities of the human body and transform those learnings into meaningful changes in medicine. Her interest in cardiology and neuroscience is driven by curiosity about how the body adapts and responds to challenges and how scientific discovery can lead to more effective treatments and better experiences. Through her volunteering at AIM, a program that brings the power of movement to children and adults in disability communities, she has seen how support that is personalized can make meaningful improvements in people's lives. This helped her understand that healthcare goes beyond just treatment and is about understanding individuals and empowering them to get better. She participated in the selected 2026 Outset General Surgery Program to gain real-world insight into surgical medicine. Through her involvement in COSA and National Honor Society for the past 2 years, she has actively pursued opportunities to expand her commitment in a future in the medical field, where she can contribute as a healthcare provider and advocate for innovation. As a high school dance co-captain and UDA All-American, she has built strong discipline, precision, teamwork, and confidence through dance. These skills directly drive her approach to leadership and problem solving beyond the stage. As a presenter of the Seattle Neuroscience Education Initiative, she looks forward to exploring her passion for neuroscience through her research on pain perception and the nervous system. She hopes to contribute to a future in medicine that combines both compassion and research to create lasting improvements in patients' care. Please welcome her to the stage.
Good afternoon. My name is Jasmita, and I'm a rising junior in Lake Washington High School. I'm going to start by just talking about why I chose this topic. As a dancer, I have a recurring hip injury, and though I'm healed, the pain always flares up randomly. And this led me to wonder, after an injury heals, how can pain signals keep going? And that led me to thinking beyond the neurons and to more specific parts of the pain process, especially the microglia. These are the immune cells of the central nervous system, which includes our brain and spinal cord, and what their role is in maintaining chronic pain. So, before I dive deeper into microglia, I'm going to explain how pain signals travel through the nervous system. You can think of pain as a relay system. It begins as an injury to your tissue, which then activates your nociceptors. These are specialized nerve endings that detect potential danger. So they kind of act like smoke detectors in our body. They detect the danger and then they send an electrical warning through the peripheral nerves. And the peripheral nerves carry the signal to your your spinal dorsal horn, and this is where the microglia act. But the bigger job of this dorsal horn is to act as a volume knob for the signal. It can either amplify the pain signal before it sends it to the brain, or it can suppress the signal as less important. And normally, when we get injured, we feel an acute pain. This is more of a protective pain that settles down after your tissue heals. However, in neuropathic and chronic pain, this is called neuropathic pain. It's caused by damage to your nervous system. And this can leave your entire system hypersensitive to pain. So even the smallest touches begin to create excruciating pain. And the main point of all of this is microglia, which is sitting in the dorsal horn. So what exactly are microglia? As I said, they're the resident immune cells of the central nervous system. So you can think of them as the security guards of the body. They actively monitor the environment and they maintain healthy connections between the neurons as well as clearing debris from the spinal cord. But after an injury, they move to a reactive state where they change their behavior and shape so that they can release inflammatory signals and increase phagocytosis, which is basically the machinery that the microglial cells use to engulf and digest different types of material. So, apart from that, they also participate in what's called a synapse remodel. And a synapse is basically the connection where neurons communicate with other neurons and different types of cells. So, instead of just protecting the environment, they begin to change the environment around the neurons. And my research asks, what role do microglia play in chronic neuroinflammation, and how might targeting them reduce chronic pain? I approached this using two main streams of evidence. The first is a dataset I obtained from a public domain by Fior and his colleagues, which helped me compare spinal microglia from mice with chronic constriction injury versus those in a sham surgical group. And the second piece of evidence I used was from Usapur and his colleagues, who published in the Nature Communications in 2025, where they tested whether blocking a complement protein released by the microglia could protect synapses and reduce pain. So, to begin with, to begin with how I analyzed the data set, the spinal microglia were isolated from the mice with the CCI, and then they were compared with the surgical sham control group. The surgical sham control group are the mice that underwent surgery without any nerve damage. So after separating them, we used a bulk RNA sequencing, which is basically like a molecular inventory. So it tells us which genes are being expressed and how strongly the genes are being expressed. And after using the sequencing, when you compare the two groups statistically, the sham group gives us a baseline, because since these have not been altered after the surgery, they have no nerve damage. This tells us exactly what we need to look for and what genes are being changed after specifically a nerve damage. And when comparing those, I saw a clear pattern. I want to say that I had a graph for this, a volcano plot to like show the different changes, but I don't have that right now, so I'm just going to explain it. You're going to have to visualize this with me. So it's basically like a normal plot, and the x-axis of it shows how much the gene expressions changed after an injury. So if the dots are more to the right, that means the gene was changed more and it's increased more. And on the y-axis, you can tell how strong the how statistically significant the evidence is. The higher up the point is, that means the stronger it is that it's reliable and dependable. And when looking at that graph, I had quite a few major genes that were expressed more strongly and accurately than others. And these genes included C1QB, C1QC, TNF, APOE, and IL1. So these are all part of a pattern that showed that many genes are increasing together and suggesting that the nerve injury pushes the spinal microglia to a more reactive state in a harmful way for the body. So when I grouped these genes into more broader biological processes, the first was a complement activation. What the complement is, it's basically part of the immune system. And here you can think of the protein it releases, which is C1q, as a molecular sticky note. It attaches itself to the synapse and marks it for removal. And the second process was an inflammatory signal. These signals make the spinal neurons easier to activate, and they turn up the volume on any of the pain signals. So even the smallest pain signal becomes amped up to a really higher importance before being sent to the brain. And the third one was phagocytosis. So phagocytosis, as I mentioned, is the cellular machinery that the microglia use to engulf and digest the materials. And these pathways suggest that microglia both sensitize and remodel the spinal cord and the connections. But by itself, the data does not prove exactly how the synapses are being removed and how that's affecting pain. So this is where I brought in supporting evidence from the Usifor paper from Usifor and his colleagues who published. In their experiments, they addressed something that my data analysis could not answer by itself. Their work shows that after a nerve injury, the C1q can tag the inhibitory synapses, which are also repressive synapses, and allowing microglia to recognize and engulf them. And in later experiments, the researchers blocked the C1q protein, and they used ANX and mutuin, which is just a scientific term for the protein that they used to block C1q. And what happened after they blocked it was that the microglial synapse engulfment decreased because it protected the repressive synapses. And that ultimately reduced the hypersensitivity of the system and decreased how important the pain signals were being traveled to the brain truly were. So while my data analysis shows that the complement program was activated, the experiments show that interfering with the proteins that come from these microglia and complement systems changes synapse loss and pain behavior. I also want to explain that repressive synapses are basically brakes on the pain signals. So when a pain signal is being sent, these are the synapses that go through and make sure that not every single pain signal is being signaled as extremely important for the brain to immediately handle. And so when we lose those synapses, we tend to, that's what makes everything more hypersensitive, and smaller pains become more excruciating. So far, this kind of gives us a sequence. So when a nerve injury activates the spinal microglia, the complement signaling makes the vulnerable repressive synapses, and then the microglial and then the microglia removes these synapses, which can weaken the nervous system and make it more hypersensitive to the pain. So finally, what I want to leave you with are three main conclusions. First, the nerve injury shifts the spinal microglia towards a reactive state. And This also associates it with a complemented state. And next, the complement mediated synapses provide a mechanism for us that could weaken the repressive control of pain transmission. And finally, the C1q blockade method that was shown by Yusufer and his colleagues provides experimental evidence that this pathway can be treated therapeutically when targeted in a mouse model. I also want to emphasize that mitochondria is not the entire explanation for chronic pain. However, these findings suggest that they can help turn a temporary pain or injury into a more chronic and long-lasting pain. And that kind of brings me back to where I started. If we want to understand and eventually create more accurate and better treatment for chronic pain, we may need to look beyond neurons and at all the other things that are actually going on in the pain transmission process. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy, for that wonderful presentation about mitochondria and chronic pain. Now, I would like to invite Anusha Halwal to the stage to present. Just a reminder, in the interest of time, we would request that you guys keep your presentations under 5 minutes. Thank you.
Oh, both of you. Perfect.
Anusha's incoming sixth grader at Gateway Middle School. Her favorite subjects are math and science because she loves solving problems, exploring new ideas, and learning something new every day. She's excited to learn more about neuroscience and discover how the brain and nervous system work. When she grows up, she hopes to become a doctor and use science to help people live healthier lives. She participated in the first Lego League Robotics and Science Olympiad, and one of her proudest achievements is making it to the Washington State Championship in robotics. It was a big accomplishment for her because it taught her the importance of teamwork, perseverance, and creative problem solving. In her free time, she enjoys crocheting, which helps her relax while developing creativity, focus, and problem solving skills. She's excited to join the Seattle Neuroscience Education Initiative because she wants to learn more about the brain and nervous system while gaining new knowledge. She hopes to learn a lot more things about the brain. Please welcome her to the stage.
Why did the brain go to school? Because it wanted to get smarter. Okay, maybe that joke wasn't funny, but have you ever laughed at a joke so hard that you couldn't stop yourself from laughing? Well, laughter actually starts in the brain. Multiple parts of your brain work together to hear the joke, understand the language, figure out the twist, release chemicals, and finally react by laughing, if the joke is funny. My name is Anusha. I'm 11 years old, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the neuroscience of humor and laughter. There are many parts of your brain used in the process of laughter, such as the frontal lobe, which controls your thinking, movement, speech, and personality, the temporal lobe, which controls your hearing, memory, laughter, hearing, memory, language, comprehension, the amygdala, which controls your emotions, and the brainstem, which coordinates your vocal cords. What happens when you hear a joke? You first hear the joke, and then the temporal lobe in your brain understands the language. Your prefrontal cortex figures out if the joke is funny or not, and then the amygdala processes your emotional response. Your brain releases dopamine and reduces cortisol, and finally, the brainstem sends a message to your vocal cords and face muscles, making you smile and laugh. How humor affects the brain. Laughing can reduce stress. It improves learning and memory. Laughter releases feel-good chemicals, such as dopamine. It benefits your body, not just your brain. When your brain releases dopamine, it boosts your mood and increases learning and motivation. Laughter lowers cortisol, a stress hormone. Reducing cortisol helps your brain and body return to a balanced state. Your teacher might have told you, stop messing around with your friends, stop telling jokes to each other, and focus on the lesson. But laughing can actually help learning. Your brain releases dopamine, which improves memory. That's what happens when you laugh. So then, since your memory increases, then you'll be able to memorize facts for your test. And then, jokes grab your attention, making it easier for you to stay focused during lesson. Fun fact: babies start laughing before they can talk. Smiling and laughing requires 14 different lungs. Women laugh 126% more than men, and people can even die from it. In conclusion, laughter begins in the brain from hearing a joke to laughing. Many parts of the brain work together to understand humor and create a response. Humor and laughter can benefit both the brain and the body by reducing stress, improving mood, and happiness. Thank you.
Thank you, Nisha, for the wonderful presentation about laughter. Now, I would like to invite Sahaza to the stage.
Foster is a rising junior at Henry M. Jackson High School with a growing passion for healthcare, leadership, and community engagement. She views science as a pathway to understand how the world works while gaining the knowledge and tools to improve people's lives. As a co-founder of CareBridge, a nonprofit educating communities on the importance of healthcare systems and how they're administered, she also serves as the director of outreach for WASSTEMHER, a nonprofit focused on expanding access to STEM education and empowering young girls and women in STEM. Sahas has been recognized as a finalist at the FBLA State Leadership Conference and TSA State Conference. She has contributed over 275 volunteer hours to her local food organization. Outside of academics, Sahas has been learning classical dance and for the past 10 years and practices taekwondo. In her free time, she enjoys drawing, biking, and reading. Please welcome her.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sasha Kalakunta, and today I'll be presenting the neuroscience of habit formation. Have you ever found yourself checking your phone without thinking or automatically brushing your teeth before bed? Those are everyday actions are called habits. Today, I'll explain how habits form in the brain, why they become automatic, why stress makes them hard to break, and what neuroscience tells us about building better habits. So for a quick overview, we'll look at what a habit is, what brain structures are involved, how dopamine helps us learn habits, how repetition rewires the brain, and finally, some science-backed ways to help change them. So, what is a habit? A habit is a behavior your brain learns to perform automatically when it recognizes a certain cue. For example, hearing your phone buzz might make you reach for it without thinking. At first, every action requires a conscious decision, but with enough repetition, your brain creates a shortcut, making that behavior faster and easier. The brain structure that's most involved in habits is the basal ganglia, which helps select and repeat actions. Habits follow a simple loop: cue, routine, and reward. Every time this loop repeats, the brain strengthens the connection. A key player in this process is dopamine. Many people think dopamine is just a feel-good chemical, but actually more like the brain's teacher. First, dopamine is released when you receive a reward. Over time, that signal shifts to the cue itself. That's why simply hearing a notification can make you want to check your phone. As we repeat a behavior, control gradually shifts from the part of the brain responsible for the conscious decision making to the part responsible for automatic routines. At the same time, connections between neurons become stronger. Neuroscientists often summarize this idea by saying neurons that fire together wire together. Repetition literally strengthens the brain circuits used for the habit. So, how long does it take for a habit to form? A common myth is that habits take 21 days to form, but research has actually proven that it takes about an average of 66 days to form, although it could range from several weeks to a few months, depending on the habit. The important lesson is that consistency matters much more than perfection, and missing one day doesn't erase your progress. So, how does stress impact habits? The prefrontal cortex helps us stop automatic behaviors and make thoughtful decisions. However, when we're feeling stressed or tired, this part of the brain becomes less effective. As a result, the brain relies more on habits because they're faster and require less effort. That's why old habits always come back during stressful times. The good news is that understanding the brain also helps us change habits. We can remove or change the cue, replace an unhealthy one with a better one, reduce stress, and repeat the new behavior consistently. To conclude, habits aren't just about willpower. They're the result of real changes in the brain. Thank you.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation about habits. Now I would like to invite Abhimanyu Arvind to present.
Abhi is a current 8th grader at Inglewood Middle School in Sammamish, Washington. Over the past 2 years, he's been actively involved with the Seattle Neuroscience Initiative. He was inspired by his sister, one of the founding co-founders of the Seattle Neuro Initiative, and strives to follow in her footsteps, hoping to make her and his parents proud. He's truly enjoyed his experience over the past years and has expanded his involvement to participate in all 6 initiatives. He's passionate about biology and aspires to become a neurosurgeon. At school, he's proud to have founded the Science Club 2 years ago, where he helps promote curiosity and discovery among peers. He's also been fortunate enough to receive awards in robotics, science, and photography. Outside of academics, he enjoys a variety of activities, including scouting, photography, swimming, robotics, and science competitions, Seattle Neuro conferences, and community service through and beyond scouting. Through these experiences, he's eager to improve his public speaking and leadership skills while serving his community. He hopes to enhance his presentation and creative abilities to designing slides, logos, posters, and flyers, and eventually have the honor of serving as MC at one of the conferences. Please welcome him to the stage.
Well, thanks for that amazing introduction. Before we start, let me give you a quick warning. Knowing about this, neurotransmitters that I'm about to present might make you smarter than most adults know about your brain. Real quick, a quick show of hands. Who's nervous? Who's excited to be here? Well, this presentation will tell you why you're feeling that way and what chemicals make that happen. Now, picture your brain as a city of 86 billion neurons, all working together in one form city, like this city, Redmond. But what's really funny is that those 86 billion neurons never touch. They actually do what modern society does and texts. They use texting like by using neurotransmitters. Or you can call it also delivery, like Amazon delivery, like kind of mini delivery trucks. They'll send a message to each other's doorstep. Now here's the delivery route. One neuron first creates a neurotransmitter, sends it into a small space called the synapse. Next, it hangs around for a little bit and waits for the other neuron to pick up that same neurotransmitter, which is the message. And after that, the gap is, just know that the gap is not small, it's microscopic. It's like really tiny. First, let's talk about dopamine, which is the reward chemical. So think about it this way: you do something good, or you feel that you did something good, and that's why you feel it. For example, you finished hard homework, or a set of like hard games, win a game, or like eat something really good, and that will trigger dopamine, which is like kind of like high-fiving you, saying congratulations or good job. And even if you get too impulsive, which, fun fact, is basically the difference between I'll start my homework in 5 minutes and actually starting it and finishing it too. Next, serotonin, which is your mood stabilizer. The one's less keeps your mood, sleep, and appetite balanced, so you're not swinging between extremes all day, which means you're not too sad or you're not too happy or you're not like sugar insensitive or hyper. So next is norepinephrine, which epinephrine you might have heard of EpiPens. That's kind of it, but this is a little different. Norepinephrine is your brain's alarm clock. Your alarm clock basically helps you wake up every day, and it helps you take a test, learn how to ride a bike, plays a match, and it helps sharpen your focus and your speed so that you're actually ready for the task that is given to you. After that is GABA, or the GABA is like kind of like the brake pedal in your car. Imagine a car with 0 brakes. What would you kind of think of it about it? Like a car that cannot stop. I mean, that would probably be very scary, right? So this is the chemical that's kind of like, okay, this is enough excitement, we can calm down now. Next is glutamate. Glutamate is very different from what we just talked about GABA. It's actually the accelerator. So imagine in a car when you're driving, you probably want to speed up, right? So that is the accelerator pedal, and it helps with excitatory neurotransmitters in your brain. This is the reason why you get like super happy. And now that you, for example, you can learn how to do something or remember anything at all in a test, that will trigger that so that you're very happy. Now, what affects neurotransmitters? Here's good news. You're not just stuck with whatever levels you've got. So, if you're super sad, you're going to stay sad. No, that's actually not true. You will always, with sleep, exercise, sunlight, music, laughing, and friends, all of it actually shifts. Some days you can be sad, some days you can be happy. And this is powerful brain science tools available to you. And anything you want, and the best part is that it's actually free. So you don't even have to worry about that. Now, sometimes the brain system can get out of balance. So for example, you have too much of sadness or too much of whatever neurotransmitter. For example, that can cause things like depression, anxiety, and trouble concentrating. For example, in a test, you can't concentrate and you're always fiddling. Even though fiddling is not really that bad. So here, to be precise, I want to make sure that you guys know that one chemical too low equals one mood problem. And researchers today think of it as a mix of brain chemistry, and genetics, and environment, all tangled together into thick knots. Now, this is actually a part which makes it such an active area of research. Why we have the entire thing of neurotransmitters being studied by researchers. A few numbers before we wrap. Your brain runs on 86 billion neurons, so that's one thing to remember. For fun, I mean, you guys can you can quiz each other on it whenever you want. You can also give these fun facts to your friends. Now, your brain can send messages up to 120 meters per second. Think of it, that's really fast. Think of it as like a bullet train, but even faster. That's faster than even. Do you guys all know about F1 or Formula One? Yes. That's even faster than that. And those guys can go really, really fast. So this also helps burn 20% of your body weight. And about 2% and also weighing only about 2% of your body weight on the same time. Your body's the most expensive. Your brain is the most expensive part in your body, just like real estate or like a house. And here's what I think is the coolest part. Nobody's fully figured it out. Scientists are still trying to figure out why people respond to stress or anger or any other type of feeling differently. Which is why it's funny because it took us 500 million years to figure this out, which is weird. And this presentation is going to help us in 2 seconds. Or, well, metaphorically 2 seconds. Now, AI tools are changing everything, and it's starting to help researchers analyze brain activity and scale humans that never could do it alone. So here's a recap. Tiny chemicals called neurotransmitters are running your mood, or you're using something called neurotransmitters, which we talked about. For example, your focus, your sleep, and your memory, all at the same time. Now, remember how I asked you how you're feeling at the start? Whatever was your answer that you kept in mind. Now, what do you guys think after that presentation? Anybody excited or happy or nervous? Yeah, say I'm nervous too. But yeah, thank you so much for that.
Thank you everybody for that wonderful presentation about neurotransmitters. I would now like to introduce our sponsor, our Shaper Host. and I'll have them talk about themselves a little bit.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sejal Paula, and this is my sister, Dolika Paula. And we're the founders of Crochet for Hope, a youth-led nonprofit organization dedicated to using the art of crochet to support community well-being, children's health, food security, and youth development. First, we'd like to thank the organizers of the Seattle Neuroeducation Institute Conference in the summer 2026 for inviting us to be a part of this incredible event and for giving us the opportunity to contribute our handmade crochet gifts to support research and innovations in neuroscience. Today, we are honored to be here among students, researchers, educators, healthcare professionals, and future scientists who are passionate about understanding the brain and improving lives through science. Many people ask us when Crochet for Hope started. Our journey began during the summer of 2024 when our grandmother taught us how to crochet during her visit from India. What started as making tiny blankets for our Barbie dolls quickly became a hobby we loved. As we learned new stitches and patterns, we realized something important. Crochet wasn't just fun. It helped us focus, it helped us be creative, and most importantly, it brought people together. That experience inspired us to share crochet with others and eventually led us to start Crochet for Hope on August 4, 2025. Since then, we have organized multiple Crochet for Hope workshops for youth across Washington state. Together with our participants and supporters, we have raised more than $2,580 for charitable causes, helped provide the equivalent of 1,704 meals through Oak Creek Community Food Bank, and donated $1,260 to Seattle Children's Hospital. And we also engaged participants from 5 Washington school districts and introduced dozens of children and teens to a healthy, creative activity away from screens. One of our proudest moments was recently when we presented our donation to Seattle Children's Hospital Foundation. During our visit, we learned that Seattle Children serves approximately 186,000 patient visits every year, cares for more than 6,000 inpatient admissions, and supports 873 active clinical research trials. Learning about this incredible research taking place there showed us how important innovation, science, and community support are in improving Seattle children's lives. That is one reason we're especially excited to be part of this Neuro Conference. When people think about neuroscience, they often think about laboratories, microscopes, and research. But neuroscience is about understanding how our brains learn, adapt, grow, and stay healthy. And that's where crochet has a surprising connection. Crochet offers many benefits that align with what scientists and healthcare professionals know about the brain, development, and the wellness. When we crochet, we are constantly using focus and concentration, hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, pattern recognition, problem solving, and memory and sequencing. The repetitive motion of crocheting can also promote relaxation, mindfulness, and stress reduction. For children and young adolescents, crochet provides a healthy alternative to excessive screen time while engaging patience, observance, and creativity. In many ways, every crochet project is a small exercise to the brain. One of the things we love most about Crochet for Hope is that anyone can learn. You don't need prior experience, you don't need expensive equipment, all you need is curiosity and willingness to try. Through our workshops, we have watched participants go from I've never crocheted before to finally completing their very first handmade project. The confidence that came from creating something yourself is truly amazing. Today, we're especially proud to see so many other people around here within Seattle and crocheting and continuing to do it even without our workshops going on. As young people, we often hear that we need to wait until we're older to make a difference. Crochet for Hope taught us something different. You can make an impact today, whether it's through science, research, volunteering, community service, art, technology, or simply teaching a skill to a friend. Every contribution matters. To all the students here today, we encourage you to explore activities that challenge your mind, develop your skills, and help others. Maybe it's through neuroscience, maybe it's research, maybe it's coding, or even crocheting. What matters most is finding something you love and using it to create a positive change if you'd like to learn crochet.
participate in it, or in our future workshops, or help us continue supporting community causes, we'd love to have you join us. And thank you to the Neuro Youth Conference organizers for allowing us to be part of this inspiring event. And thank you to all the researchers, healthcare professionals, educators, and students who are working to advance brain science and including lives. And thank you everyone who has supported Crochet for Hope on our journey. Together, through science, creativity, compassion, and community, we can make a difference. Crochet for Hope, where every stitch is a touch. Thank you so much.
Now, Samuel and Novika will be presenting gifts to all of our leads and presenters. Starting with Abhimanyu. Next, Iman. Next, Aura.
And Sorry.
Everybody go stand. Stay there. After that, right now. All of you guys stand here. Stand here. Just stand around.
Bring all the presenters.
All the presenters.
No. Who are not notified?
Who is present here?
Who will be presenting later also? Because we want them to be there. Call the names.
Akshar.
They will be making the presentation later. Next.
Adia.
He wasn't speaking.
He's not the.
I don't know the name. He's a young supporter. Young supporter.
Good. Just stand.
Thank you for supporting. Did you guys get the picture? Yes. Then Ramya. Come here. And we'll bring all the students together for a group picture. And a group picture of all the students with the sponsors, please, and bring your gifts as well. A group picture with all the students, student leads and the sponsors. Oh, are you? But he didn't get one. He needs to get one. His name.
Give that card.
Okay, give. You have one?
We have time for the rest.
No, that's okay. Group photo.
It's okay, we have to do
That's
this.
okay,
We'll wind it up. It's okay.
We'll have a recorded presentation and put it on the YouTube channel.
We are not gonna do any
Okay,
recorded
yeah.
ones. We'll just do you guys now. Everybody else is done.
Okay, can you have a photo?
Yeah, so phone.
All the students.
Yeah, stick to
young
5 minutes,
students
we'll be
also,
fine.
Can you be part of the group photo, please? Can you all stand in a semicircular? Smile. Everyone has it. Abhimanyu, can you come to the? Charit, can you please come? And can you please hold on to your crochet, whatever the gifts they have given.
Okay, everyone smile.
Smile.
1, 2,
Charit,
3.
can you come here? Charit, can you come here?
Smile. 1, 2, 3.
Along with the mom of the two girls. Mom of the two girls, no, mom of the two girls, even those, no, I don't do anything. They deserve it. That's okay.
We will take parents picture later. No.
Together,
Yes, smile everyone.
because in the YouTube we want it together.
Smile.
Smile. Can you all say crochet for hope together? Crochet for hope. What is the tagline?
Every stitch a touched life.
Every stitch a touched life. Can you all say together? Crochet for hope. Every stitch a touched life. Crochet for hope. Every stitch a touched life. Thank you to the sponsors.
Please do follow the Instagram for the next workshop. There is some exciting workshops even for the boys to crochet.
Yeah.
So every single registration will go to the donation.
Yeah. So next, what do we have next? Okay, yeah, keep going.
Now keep moving.
Okay, so now we're gonna continue with our presentation. You can all make your way to your seats.
Okay, you ready?
Our next is Akshara Kohli. I'm sorry if I butchered your name.
In the interest of time, let's try to do your presentation as fast as possible. No pressure, under 5 minutes is probably doing this.
Akshara Kohli. Akshara is an incoming junior in high school with a deep passion for neuroscience, especially the study of Alzheimer's disease and future growth detection, treatment, and patient support. She is driven by a desire to contribute to meaningful advancements that make neurological research more accessible, effective, and centered on improving quality of life for individuals and families affected by cognitive decline. As she continues her academic journey, Akshara hopes to explore how innovative research, technology, and compassionate care can shape the next generation of breakthroughs in brain science. Beyond her academic interests, Akshara is an active member of her school community. She participates in the badminton club and enjoys teamwork, discipline, and focuses on sports requirements. She's also earned recognition in competitive STEM events, ranking 6th at state level in hostess creative problem-solving event, and achieving a top national ranking at TSA, which she placed 7th in the nation. These experiences have strengthened her problem-solving abilities, leadership skills, and commitment to collaborative innovation. Outside of school, Akshara loves to paint, using art as a creative outlet that provides balanced expression and inspiration for new skills. Let's give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, my name is Akshara, and today I'll be talking about Alzheimer's, early onset, and prevention. What is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is a progressive, irreversible brain disorder, or in simple symptoms, memory loss. It affects 60 to 80% of dementia patients, aging 65 and above. It slowly destroys your memory and cognitive skills, eventually leading to carrying out
simple tasks becoming harder. A few symptoms plus stages of Alzheimer's. There are 3 stages: early, mid, and late stage. In the early stage, you start to feel mild cognitive impairments, and in mid stage, you feel memory loss, and you have challenges in cooking or dressing. In late stage, you have behavioral changes, physical decline, and need for full-time care. Early onset Alzheimer's is also known as younger onset Alzheimer's. It is a rare form of dementia. It begins around the age of 65 and affects 5 to 10% of Alzheimer's cases. There have been cases that are common around age 40 to 50, but there have been a few rare cases starting in their 30s. The impact that Alzheimer's has on your life. It can affect your work, your finances, your relationships with people, and your independence. Most cases are sporadic. Some have genetic reasons in them. A few mistakes that doctors make during diagnosis for Alzheimer's or early onset, because it's not really detectable when it's early, is they mistake stress and depression as a form of another disease. To know if you have early onset or Alzheimer's in general, you need neurological evaluation, genetic testing, if there have been any family cases. A few methods that people cope with Alzheimer's is they start to plan early care, they plan their work and their finances, and they also discover strong support networks and seek counseling, and they have to also start a healthy lifestyle. Prevention. There is no way to prevent Alzheimer's as it is a progressive and irreversible brain disorder. But there have been a few cases where it has slowly progressed due to a few habits that people have done. For example, they exercise regularly, they control their blood pressure, they stay social, they're mentally active, and they avoid smoking, and they also limit their alcohol intake. To detect Alzheimer's early, some people do blood biomarker tests or cognitive tests like MoCA or SLUMS. A few people have also done MRI scans. Emerging research in Alzheimer's, there have been a few. Some people have started to create a tau-targeting drug, which typically slows down the progression of the brain. But then there's also combination therapy, which includes amyloid plus tau. There have been an FDA-approved disease-modifying drug, which requires MRI scans, but you have to do MRI scans because there's a thing called brain swelling that can happen with this drug. That's it.
Okay, next we'll have Adia. Please come up to your presentation.
Adia is 12 years old and a 7th grader at Skagit Middle School in Baltimore. She really wants to be a neurosurgeon someday because she finds the brain super interesting. Science is one of her favorite subjects, and the human body. She also enjoys learning about natural disasters, cells, and atoms. All these topics interest her, and she hopes she can learn more about them as she grows. Besides school, she really enjoys swimming as one of her passions, and she loves how smoothly she can glide through the water. She also loves dancing. She does Bollywood and Kuchipudi dance. It seemed difficult for her at first, but as she kept learning, it got easier. She enjoys performing on stage so she can share the love of dance with everyone. She thinks that it's like a beautiful art, but with rhythmic movements and gestures. Speaking of art, she also got to go to an art class. She learned a traditional Indian art style called Madhubani art. Madhubani art is filled with colorful patterns that take up space, making sure that there are no gaps. While doing Madhubani art, you also perfectly measure lines and trace them neatly, which relates to math. Math is another one of her favorite subjects at school. She enjoys learning all the formulas and complex equations to teach her brain and math. Then again, it's also connected with science. She hopes to learn more about science and explores many new topics and experiments. Please welcome her to the stage.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today?
Good.
Make sure you pay attention because there's going to be a quiz at the end of my speech. Just kidding. But make sure you remember what you're going to learn about today because it can help save someone's life. Imagine you're running, playing soccer, or just sitting in class. and suddenly one side of your body goes numb and you can't see clearly. What should you do? My name is Audrey Berry, and today I'm going to be talking about strokes in young adults, warning signs, and recovery. But first, what is a stroke? A stroke is a medical emergency that happens when a blood vessel in your brain gets a blood clot or rupture. There are two different kinds of strokes, an ischemic stroke and a hemorrhagic stroke. An ischemic stroke happens when a blood vessel in your brain ruptures. An ischemic stroke is caused by heart attacks and hardened arteries. An hemorrhagic stroke is caused when a blood vessel in your brain ruptures. A hemorrhagic stroke is caused by brain tumors and high blood pressure. But now, let's talk about the warning signs. Some warning signs of strokes are sudden trouble with seeing and walking, weakness in the arm, leg, or face, the feeling to not feel half of your face, and confusion and severe headache with no known cause. But now, let's talk about a method to find out if someone's having a stroke. We have a method called the BFAST method. And the BFAST is an acronym. It stands for B Battle Block. Raise your hand if you've ever spun around until you felt dizzy. B, eye changes. Have you ever gotten something in your eye which made it not for you not to be able to see properly? F, face droop. Everybody give me your biggest smile. During a stroke, one side of your smile may droop down. A, arm weakness. Everybody put both your arms in front of you. During a stroke, one arm may droop down slightly or become weak. S, speech problems. Everybody say today is a beautiful day. During a stroke, your speech might come out slurred or not understandable. T, time to call 911. If you notice any of these warning signs, what number should you call? 911. That's right. Make sure you remember these warning signs so they can help save someone's life. Now, imagine your friend suddenly drops their water bottle and says that they can't see clearly and her speech comes out slurred. What warning signs do you notice? Speech and vision. So now, what number do you call? 911. Yes, that's right. Now, as important is warning signs and BFAST, let's talk about another important step in the journey, recovery. During a recovery phase, the patient may go through lots of challenges, such as physical, financial, cognitive, emotional, and vocational challenges. During this time, physicians, physical therapists, and speech-language pathologists help them heal. In recovery, some common recovery tips to help you through this time are to remember to make sure that you start rehab as soon as possible. It's very important. And you can also set a goal to stay motivated. And you should definitely maintain a healthy lifestyle during this period. Now, you have learned about what a stroke is, warning signs, the BFAST method, and recovery. So let's talk about the fun facts. In 2023, 45,785 people had a stroke, which is about 1 stroke every minute. When a stroke strikes, it attacks about 1.9 million brain cells a minute. We count the annual health care dollars for heart disease and cancer. It's less than the amount of money spent for stroke treatment each year. Over half the deaths of stroke occur in women. A stroke can happen to anyone, any age, anytime. But remember, if you notice any of these warning signs, everybody matters. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Thank you to our keynote speaker, Ninja Council, who came here earlier. And we'd also just like to take this moment. Students, you did a great job. Everyone presented really well, and I'm happy to listen.
That's great.
Thank you so much.